Hey, everybody, and welcome back to the Growth Class. I'm your host, Phil Massiel, and today we're talking about what it actually takes to build, scale, and sustain a beloved consumer brand from scratch. Back in 2005, our guest today was sitting at home on maternity leave with her first child, watching a news segment about a booming cupcake trend out west. Instead of just watching from the sidelines, she decided to fire up her home oven. She baked a few batches and forced them into the hands of friends, family, and anyone else who would taste them. What started as a kitchen counter experiment quickly transformed into a relentless hustle, pounding the pavement for wholesale accounts, pivoting through retail challenges, managing rapid expansion across South Florida, and scaling a powerhouse dessert brand that now bakes tens of thousands of fresh treats daily. She's the founder of the iconic Misha's Cupcakes, a true testament to what happens when execution, grit, and absolute operational dedication collide. So, thanks for coming on to the show, Misha.
Wow. Thank you for that beautiful introduction, Phil.
Yeah, sure.
That was very nice.
I'm good at the intros.
Wow, I sound great, I have to say. I'm like, who is this girl? I want to meet her.
Yeah. So why don't you tell us the story? I know I touched on it a little bit, but why don't you tell us the background story? What happened? How'd you get there? How'd you get to where you are?
Oh my goodness. And where am I right now? But I started when I had my daughter. She was 5 months old. And yes, I'd heard about sprinkles in California. And I was like, oh my gosh, I can do that, because I didn't want to go back to work.
Yeah.
And at that time, I had been working for UPS, and then I was doing real estate. And then I thought I wanted to be a full-time mom. And I realized that that's a lot harder than going to work. So
yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. So I started doing this, and I just did from the house. My ex-husband was horrified. My parents were okay with it, which was surprising. And it just happened. I gave a lot of free stuff that first month, and I did this breast cancer event where I donated cupcakes, and that's where I got my first wholesale account. So it kind of snowballed from that time then on. So then, all the other things happened.
Yeah, that's great. So, and then you wound up with like 3 stores, right?
Well, so that was 2005. And then 2006, I was still doing it from the house, and it was chaotic because people were coming over all the time, and it got to be annoying, like on a Sunday. So we ended, I was like, So I opened up a warehouse and a kiosk in a mall in 2007. And that was great. It was open every day, with the exception, I think, of Christmas and Thanksgiving. So it was intense. And I was thinking, I'd rather have a real store. Back in 2008, the dream was to have a store. In 2026, not so much. But I opened the store in 2008, and it was a really big hit. And it was cool because when we opened, we put paper on the windows because we were like not open yet, but we were doing all the stuff, to get it ready without parents. And people were like, knock, knock, knock. So we would let people in and be like, here's your order. And so they thought it was so cool. And it kind of created, that feeling of like scarcity. Wow, we can't get them. And so that was 2008. 2009 came along. I got pregnant again. And then 2010 opened another store. 2011, a third store. And it kind of went like that, 4th, 5th, 6th, and then up to the point where we had 9 stores. I like 2019. Yeah, we were at 9. So.
And then, so every time you had a kid, you opened up a store?
Yes, I have 9 children. Can you imagine? I know. It was funny. I feel like I would see people and they'd be like, you're pregnant again. I'm like, it's only 3 times. It's not like, I think you have 5. So who's talking here?
Yeah, I'll tell you, they were rough to carry, man. It was rough on me.
You're not kidding.
No, raising kids is very, very difficult. People don't, there's so much that you have to do. It's so much easier to go to work.
It is.
Someplace than it is to deal with, kids, especially when you have different ages and they're all coming up and you've got to get them all to a different place, and everybody's homework, and everybody needs something different, and everybody eats something different. And
well, everybody eats something different, but at the table, you're like, that's all you're getting. You
Yeah.
don't eat anything else. I'm not cooking anything else because
We weren't able to do that. We had a vegan, a vegetarian, a non-eat
and you
meater.
indulged it all. I see.
Well, we had no choice, I mean, what are you
Yes,
going
if not,
to say?
they starve.
My God, it was unbelievable. That was the hardest time. That was the hardest part of raising kids was mealtime because
Food, the food, and cooking for. Then you guys are 7. Well, you have a dog or 2 dogs, right? So
yeah,
I don't know what
the dogs are
they
easy.
get fed. Yeah,
Dogs are easy.
less so than children.
Yeah, the dogs were easy. They would
It's-
eat the food that I put in front of them. They didn't care. But you
If
take them
only
out.
kids would do that.
I know, right? You just take them out to pee and poop and feed them, and everybody's happy.
And they're fine.
Open up the door and let them out in the yard, and they're ecstatic.
You can't do that with kids in diapers.
No, you can't. There's
Doesn't
laws
work.
against that. I don't know why.
Right. Right. We're not supposed to
So
say this out loud,
no, I know, especially not on TV. But hey,
Oh, right.
so yeah,
Fail.
so then, how has it been going? Like, how is life going? You always have ups and downs in business, and
Yes. There's been ups and downs for sure. I think that those first years, it was exciting. And, when you're really enthusiastic and you feel like all in,
yeah,
it flows, and I worked a lot. My daughter she jokes about it. She's like, "Oh, I don't remember seeing you my first 5 years."
oh
And I'm
God,
like, "You don't remember your first 5 years anyway." So, I mean, but it's true. Like I really was in, and I would go to the bakery at 4:15, and then sometimes leave like at 7. But in the in between, I would go at 4, then come back, get the kids ready for school, take the kids to school while my ex is sleeping. And then, then I have to pick them up in the afternoon, that kind of thing. So it was a lot, and I really liked working, and sometimes it's actually easier to be there. And so I was. And and it helped with the growth and the excitement of like, okay, we have 1 store, 2 stores, 3 stores. And it was like this almost like an accumulation, which now I see as like, oh, when you pile stuff on top of stuff on top of stuff. And sometimes that's not the greatest thing in the long run, right? So, and there's been an evolution from when I first started 21 years ago to now, with the way that people purchase and how they want to receive their products. We weren't doing deliveries back then, not that much. And although I'll never forget my first wedding cake that I delivered with one of the girls, that I had this wonderful employee that she started with me in my house. We made this wedding cake. It was beautiful, 3 stories, buttercream. We had to deliver it from Miami to Key Biscayne, and you have to go over this, that bridge, right? Oh, that bridge. So we have to go over the bridge, and we're going over the bridge, and she had it on her lap. We were new. We didn't know what to do here. That cake was like shaking, and it was, I don't know, I'm looking over, I'm like, we're shaking. And she's like, it's moving. It's not looking good. And we get there, and the cake is like this. And the bride, to this day, I still see her. She was so cool. She's like, no big deal. Don't worry. I'm like, we'll come back. We came back. We brought beer. We went and we fixed that cake until like 9:00 that night. Thank God the wedding was the next day. But so many times where things get messed up big time, and you got to figure it out, and it's a lot of that.
yeah. When my first business that I started when I was 27, which was it was a disaster, but not because the business was bad, but because I was not a good manager or leader. But anyway, it was a
We
special,
evolve.
yeah, it was a specialty food business, and we made custom products, custom cakes, custom food, etc. So we used to
Yeah.
we had a storefront, which was specialty food, but we also did an awful lot of catering. And
Mhm.
my background was food. My background was restaurants, and we did an awful lot of catering. And I can tell you that we took this job one time it was about an hour and a half north of the city. We were in New York, about an hour and a half north of the city. And, we had to get the truck. We had a box truck and we had a van, an extended van. And we had we had to bring everything, and we had to figure out how to keep the food warm because,
it was cold there.
Well, it was going to be an hour and a half drive, and there wasn't, we were going to this wedding that was out
on the boonies.
It was along this river, and I think it was one of the, if I remember correctly, it was like one of the Rockefeller kids, and they had this place that they called a fishing camp along this river up in Ellenville, New York. And I mean, the place was massive, but we knew that we weren't going to have anything to cook with. And so I took the van and I said, let's just put all the food in the van and just cover the floor with sternos. And that's what we did. And that became like our hot box.
It's hilarious.
Oh, no.
Lit sternos.
No, it gets better.
Danger.
So, it's nighttime, right? We can't see anything. We get through the whole thing. We're breaking it down and everything. And we drive back. We get back to the store. It's about, midnight. And, we pulled up we had back doors that opened up that you could pull the van in. We start emptying it. And this one guy that worked for me, he's looking at the van. He goes, that's a weird paint job we have on this van. I said, what are you talking about? It's brown. He's like,
oh my gosh,
not really. And I went, and I'm looking at it. All the paint had bubbled up. It was all, it was all a mess. I was like, oh my God, I can't believe it. I destroyed the paint job. It was great on the front, but it got to the sliding side door, and everything behind that was just it looked kind of cool unless you looked up close to it, but from far away, it was like, oh, that's a custom paint job.
I bet you didn't do that again. No.
Yeah, no. I never took anything that was further than a half an hour away after that. I was just trying to.
Things we do. Yeah, you want the business, right?
Yeah, because it was good money, and but I can remember moving cakes around. We never brought cakes fully assembled. We just wedding cakes. We always did them, assembled them there, and brought the stuff because
that's what I learned.
Yeah, you can't be transferring that stuff.
No, and we weren't Googling apparently back then. How do you transport a cake? We were just let's go.
Yeah. I've been there. Believe me, I've been there.
Thank God for cool brides, though. Let me tell you.
I've done some stupid things with food in my life. But, so
that's
So when you got multiple stores, did you go from store to store to store to store, or did you have people that you trusted in all those stores? Because that's always a problem when you have multiple stores. Yeah.
That is the problem. And I think when let's say you have multiple stores and you're fully funded and you're not, bootstrapping, and you're like, okay, I have these people, I can train these people, I can do this. And we did. We had managers in each store. I played around with different ways of the business model, I guess, for the stores, because initially I would bake everything at this one spot in our main location. And then it was like, oh, well, maybe what we should do is, because the transport to some of these would get messy. So the cupcakes and the cakes were getting And so it was like, do we buy a freezer van, or do we then just have everything baked here and then they decorate over there? So we did that for a little while. We did the decorating over there kind of thing for a while. But then I'd go to the store and I'm like, that's not how they look. Yeah. They don't look like that. They're supposed to look like this. So that got annoying. So then it was like, okay, let's change this and make it so that everything is done in the same spot. And that was good. There was always the transport issues, but, we had 3 vans and we would do whatever. We'd air condition and all the things. And, I think it just became that it wasn't just having so many stores. It was all the people. And so, I knew all the people's names because I did the payroll, right? So, but then you don't end up knowing the people, right? Not in the way that that I knew the people when I first started. And some of those that were with us back then are still with us now. But it dilutes, right? And so in lieu of having like strong presence in each of the stores, you end up going to this store more or that store more or the problem store less or more, depending upon who was working there. And I began to see that like the heart of the business, which really was me, right? Me couldn't be everywhere. And I had wonderful people that could kind of keep that going, that feeling, but also we all were stretched pretty thin. And I started to realize that like that essence, that love, that feeling of like, these are cupcakes. This is love. This is fun. It's happy. It's all that stuff. It was like not present in all the stores,
Yeah. Yeah.
And I don't like that. And over the years, there were so many times where we had these cool opportunities to, do franchising, to do licensing. And we did a couple, some guy, I laugh now because he wanted to open a licensee, did it in like Bay, I don't know, it was up in the north, like probably 45 minutes away. Well, they were holding the cupcakes for like days, and we have a strict 36-hour policy.
Yeah. Yeah.
So people were calling, they're like, the cupcakes are bad, like impossible, but they were bad. So they were keeping them, they were getting old, they were getting moldy. So that didn't work. And then we would have people sign. So I had a kiosk in Sawgrass Mills Mall, and it was far. So, we would visit, but also they were such a lovely couple, and they tried so hard, but it was expensive. So they're purchasing from me and then selling, but then they're paying that high rent of the mall. So we tried a bunch of different things. We had a spot in the Miami the arena when they had the white heat thing, which was awesome. We've done stuff at the Marlins where we were there for that. What's the All-Stars thing, where they're like throwing the ball and it's really cool. That was fun. Yeah, that stuff. I'm terrible at sports. Like I played sports, but I don't watch them. Although watching those soccer games was hot. That was fun.
Yeah, the World Cup.
Yeah, that was fun. It was neat.
Yeah, we had a pool. I never paid much attention to soccer until the World Cup. We wound up, somebody in our neighborhood set up a pool, and it was just fun to just talk about it and do it every day because
because they're so exciting. Okay, I would watch them in Spanish. The reason being is that the English version is so boring. They're like, oh, goal, yay. The Spanish version with that long goal, the way they say it, it's just awesome. It's so exciting. It's much more fun.
Well, we didn't, we were usually watching it after the fact because some of those games were on like during the day. And so we were watching it on, whatever, Telemundo or wherever we could watch. Yeah, we didn't need I'm not a big fan of the commentators anyway. So it makes no difference to what, and I can understand what they're saying. I can't speak it, but I can understand it. And so it's like, but it was fun in the fact that we didn't pick our teams in the pool. It was like generated for us. So, you got your team and then they were like telling you every day, how you did. And I had France and somebody, the two other neighbors, one had Argentina, one had Spain. And what I was doing was before every match, I would do something like I would create an AI image of the people. Like I would get a picture of, this guy, Matt's wife, Allison, she had Spain and this other woman had Argentina. And so I turned her into a flamenco dancer and I turned,
You brought the party, I see.
Yeah, I did. And I would send them out every day to people, depending on the match, who they were playing, right? And I turned like Spain. She became a bullfighter, and she was, I forget who, then it came down to Spain playing Argentina and, which was fun.
You could have a field day with that.
Yeah, I was just creating all these AI images just for fun. So it was cracking everybody up. I mean, they just couldn't wait for the next image to come out. And
oh my gosh. Yeah, it's Mr. Creative. I like that.
Oh, it was hysterical.
It just makes it more fun. That and a cocktail, and then it's a blast.
Yeah. So, and then we'd meet in the morning, and I didn't know, I still don't understand the rules of soccer, right? All I know is,
Don't
okay,
either.
you're bringing the ball down, you score, and that's great. But
Whatever. Yeah. As long as it goes in
yeah,
not the basket, the thing, whatever.
yeah,
Whatever.
the goal.
Yeah. That I got to tell you what I like about it is that they're short because those baseball games are like,
Endless. Yeah.
yeah, I'm with you. See,
Yeah.
how are we on soccer? But,
Yeah. Well, you said something
sorry,
about
I digress.
you were talking about the what do you call it? The All-Star game.
Oh, yeah, that's
Yeah.
right. Those are
Yeah.
fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right, because we were in all these different places and had opened, and we'd have like pop up stuff and everything. And I think for me, when COVID happened, it was so life changing because you had a moment where you stopped and you didn't want to stop. Maybe some people did want to stop and were able to take a break, and that was wonderful, right? But for us, it wasn't like, we were rolling in the dough and we could be like, yeah, this takes 6 months off and it's all good and I can, find my zen. It was more like, oh, we're like a restaurant type business. You got a month and that's it, right? So from 75 people at that time, because I think at that point I had 8 stores. We were like, and I have 5, me and 1 driver and the girl that had started with me, Vanessa, who's been my CEO forever. And, like, what was that? 1, 2, 3. So like another person. It was crazy. And I realized like, this isn't sustainable. These big stores, they got to go. And so, but what could you do? So the negotiations of the rents with respect to paying them and not paying them because we were closed. So we weren't generating any kind of sales. And then shifting, like when you're thrown into that, I'm pretty good when it comes to emergency stuff. And Vanessa and I were like, okay, what do we do? So we started saying, okay, we'll keep our wholesales because we had Milam's and we didn't have Whole Foods yet, but we had other places that we were selling to. So that kept us alive. And I love Milam's Market because they are just a lovely family and they pay every month on time. It's so great. And we said, look, who are the people that are really going crazy right now? It's the nurses. It's all the medical workers, right? So we set up a thing where people could donate and then we would match in the same amount of what they donated in cupcakes. And then we would deliver them. So it was great. People were wonderful. And we were delivering, and I'm here delivering to hospitals and all this stuff. And then I realized then they started saying that people with heart problems shouldn't be doing like the whole COVID thing. And I have some stuff. And it was like, oh. So we couldn't get anyone to deliver them at that point. So it's just like, you figure stuff out and then you have to shift again. And so we did. We figured it out. We launched a website that you could actually order from by Mother's Day, and it saved us. And so there are all those things that saved us, right? There was the PPP, then there was the restaurant revitalization. We applied for every grant. And so there was a lot that kept us afloat, which now we're not so happy with, like the EIDL, but it kept us alive. And also at that point, I was like, I don't want to do this anymore. Like, we need to change. So we closed some stores. And then it was like, where do we go to keep the business alive, growing? And how do we do this where we can stop with these stores, but not have so much fallout? Because it's not like I could say, okay, this store, this store, this store, I'm going to close. No, you have leases, you have rent, you have
Liability.
yeah. So these last few years have been difficult because as we are organizing, we're also making changes that have been difficult. And I think that there's nothing, I don't know. I mean, I've been doing this for all these years, but having a business and sustaining it through like great times and bad times has got to be the biggest character building or character crushing, soul crushing at times experience, and like such a mirror for all of my own issues, right? in which I say, oh, wow, these are my employees. I have to pay them. So I'm paying them from my pocket. These are my employees. I want them to be okay. And then when do you get to a point where it's like, yes, but I do need to make sure that I am taking care of myself, my family, all that stuff too. So, going from this like self-sacrifice, I'm keeping the business alive to, hey, when do the pendulum swings all the way over here and then it's all the way over here? When do we get to the middle? And now that's where I am trying to get to the middle because it's been quite the journey of ups and downs.
Yeah, it's definitely character building. COVID was a change. A lot of people didn't make it out of it. And, but
Agree.
That time flew. We're just about out of time. So any closing stuff, where can people find you? They can go to mishascupcakes.com.
Thank you, Phil. Yes, they can go to mishascupcakes.com. We also sell through goldbelly.com, which is great. If you need us to ship it to you, we can ship anywhere in the United States. And the cool part is, as we've closed the stores, we've kept one store open. We have vending machines. There's two in the airport, D21 and G15 in Miami. And then we have one at FIU, the university, and also at Aventura Mall. But the exciting part is that we're pivoting so that we focus our efforts on our wholesale. And we got into Walmart. And so now we're going to be selling them our cake jars. Super excited. We're going to start with Florida and then, grow from there. So find us in Walmart eventually, like hopefully soon. We need an investor. So if you know anyone, you let me know. Okay.
All
we
right.
need that. That's what we're looking for.
All right. Great.
Yeah.
Well, it was good speaking to you. Thank you.
So good to talk to you.
You too.
You're wonderful. I appreciate it very much.
Thank you. My pleasure. All right. Well, we have to go. And until next time, we will see you later.